Apparently, in the tsunami of the year 2004, Boxing Day, there were a lot of people from this country and other European countries on holiday there, by the sea, which is why so many Europeans died in proportion to the people who lived there all the time. 300,000 people died in that tragedy. And this was the only good story I read about it. That's why I remembered it. Apparently, there was a boy with his family on a beach in Sri Lanka. And on the day this happened, Boxing Day 2004, the family were on the beach. And the boy had been pestering his mother all the time for an elephant ride. They didn't do donkey rides because it's Sri Lanka. They did elephant rides. There was one elephant and a handler who would take your children up the beach. And this boy got on the elephant and he was going away from his family down the beach. Half a mile, lovely day, beautiful, calm, everyone was swimming. Suddenly the elephant stops, looks out to sea, and then starts trumpeting, broke away from her handler, and charged up into the jungle with the boy clinging on in the howdah at the top. What the elephant had sensed was what the people couldn't see already, was that this great wave was coming in. By the time the people saw it, it was too late. And many, many, many of them, as you know, as I said, were drowned. The elephant and the boy were by this time a half a mile up, going upwards all the time into the jungle. She saved the boy's life. I read that story. Very touched by it, particularly in the light of everything that happened to everyone else. And then I suddenly thought, hang on. You've got an elephant in the jungle. You've got a boy in the jungle. You've got your two stories, the Jungle Book and the Elephant Book, all in one. And if by any chance you could arrange in your head, dream it out, that they came across orangutans and they came across what was happening to them, wouldn't that be an interesting story? So I sat down and wrote, and I'll read you a bit of it, and then we can have some questions. I'm not allowed to go to sleep in this. This is the moment, actually, in my story, which tells you how I developed what I've just told you. It's written in the first person. The boy's called Will. The elephant is called Una. I was being rocked so violently from side to side up in my howdah that it was all I could do to avoid being thrown out. I learned fast that I had to keep my head down, that whenever I looked up, there'd be some overhanging branch just ahead of me, waiting to slash and whip and claw at me, or even knock me off altogether. So I flattened myself, face down into the cushion, closed my eyes, and with all my strength just hung on, riding the pitch and toss as the elephant blundered through the trees, trumpeting in her terror. It was the trumpeting I could not stand. It was so loud, so excruciatingly shrill that it filled my whole head, and the whole forest around me too. I longed to put my hands over my ears, but I could not let go of the rail. The elephant's terror became my terror, and I found myself screaming into the cushion, then biting deep into it because it was the only way to silence my screams. I'd been to the fun fair with Dad, done the Big Dipper and the Waltzer, but that had all been make-believe terror. Terror I could laugh at, terror I had to laugh at because Dad was, because everyone was, even though I was frightened out of my wits. But this was the real thing. This was life or death. I knew it because Una was trumpeting it. I had no idea then what she was running from. Only that whatever it was must be close behind us and coming after us and would kill us if it caught up with us. It wasn't until I felt the sun hot on the back of my neck and I realized we must be out of the dark of the forest. I dared now to lift my head at last and look about me. Una was charging on through a clearing with high grass and scrubby trees all around, and then into a swamp. It occurred to me at once that if I threw myself off here, then at least I would have a soft landing. But then the more I thought about it, the more I knew I could never bring myself to do it. It was so far to fall, too far. And Una was running on now even faster than before. I was still being tossed about in the howdah. I was having to hang on with all my strength so as not to be thrown out. But at least I had discovered a technique for staying in there by this time. Splaying my legs wide behind me, I found I could brace my feet against the rails and steady myself better. I was beginning to feel a little more secure. I even dared to raise myself up a little and twist round just for a moment to look behind me to see if the mahout had been following us. I'd been hoping against hope all along that he wouldn't be too far behind, that Una would slow down and he would catch up, and that somehow, some way, he would be able to bring the runaway elephant to a halt. But Una was showing no sign of slowing down, and the young man was nowhere to be seen. All this time I was trying to take it all in, to make some sense of it. Everything had happened so fast and was still happening. All I could be sure of now was that I had no one to turn to, that I was quite on my own. I was being carried off into the forest by a rampaging elephant who had been spooked by something or someone unknown. Whatever it was had transformed her from a ponderous creature of supreme gentleness and serenity into a wild, raging beast, maddened by terror, who seemingly had only one idea in her head: to get as far from the sea as possible, as fast as possible.